In the instant the altar trembled, fate itself seemed to hold its breath. What rose from beneath Kunwu Mountain was not merely a devil, nor a battle for treasure, but a force old enough to unmake worlds. If you enjoy my way of explaining and storytelling, please consider supporting us through the donation. It really motivates us to keep creating. While releasing his flying swords, Han Li spoke silently to Silvermoon within the depths of his mind. If I sever the Black Wolf's head, the devil Ancestor should temporarily lose control of the body, but that could just as easily backfire. Wouldn't Long Meng seize the opportunity and claim the body first? Silvermoon's reply came swiftly, her voice calm, yet edged with certainty. The devil restriction bands have sealed away the devil's chi. Her soul cannot escape from the head. So long as the soul is separated from the body, I am confident I can reclaim control. Even if Long Meng arrives with her formidable spiritual sense, she cannot contend with your blade refined by auric essence. Ordinary treasures cannot harm the Silver Moon Wolf's body, and she would also have to struggle against the devil for dominance. The disadvantage would deter her. Of course, she cannot possibly imagine that you possess so many flying swords of identical refinement. Otherwise, she would never have rushed off to contend for the divine spirit treasures. Han Li drew in a slow, steady breath. His resolve hardened. Silvermoon was his artifact spirit. Any strength she regained would ultimately return to him. Without further hesitation, he formed an incantation gesture. The flying swords rose into the air at his command. Golden light crackled between them, converging and fusing until a colossal, resplendent golden sword shimmered into existence above him. With a mere flick of his finger, thunder boomed from the heavens. A mantle of golden lightning wrapped itself around the blade, weaving and coiling like living serpents. At the sword's tip, silver threads flared briefly, forming the fleeting image of a silver wolf's head before vanishing like a mirage. With Silvermoon directly possessing the blade, its power surged to an entirely new height. The moment the devil was beheaded, she would be able to return instantly to her original body. The immense sword blurred. Like a bolt of divine lightning, it cleaved through the dense devilish chi. Sparks trailed in its wake, scattering in dazzling arcs as it flashed forward in rapid succession. Closing in on the altar, in the span of a few breaths, it bore down upon the thick neck of the Black Wolf's massive head. Such a breathtaking display could not go unnoticed. Every cultivator locked in bitter struggle over the two divine spirit treasures felt their gaze drawn irresistibly toward the golden blade. Even Long Meng paused, surprise flickering across her features, only to curl her lips in disdain a heartbeat later. In her eyes, how could the weapon of a mere mid-nascent soul cultivator possibly injure that body? But to the others, anticipation and dread tangled in equal measure as they watched the blade descend. Just as the enormous sword swept down with unstoppable force, the wolf leapt. With astonishing agility for its immense size, it sprang aside, narrowly evading the strike. Han Li and the others were left utterly stunned. It was a ruse. The devil restriction bands never bound it. Master Sable cried out, his voice trembling. Taoist Seven Wonders' expression darkened as well, yet he did not falter. Hands weaving through incantation seals, he began chanting, striving to reactivate the restriction bands. The 5 emerald rings flared, brilliantly tightening once more around the wolf's body. In response, the wolf revealed a Cheshire grin. With effortless grace, it landed atop the altar once again. From its core, a pitch-black radiance burst forth, engulfing its entire body in a seething blaze of darkness before collapsing inward. In the blink of an eye, the wolf's gleaming silver fur dulled and blackened as though stained by eternal night. Only the remaining silver wolf's head retained its pristine sheen. Devil form body, when did she complete the transformation? Long Meng's face drained of color, disbelief flashing across her eyes. At that same instant, the wolf tilted its head back and exhaled. Matte black waves flowed silently from its maw, rippling through the air like delicate petals drifting upon an unseen current. There was no sound, yet wherever the waves passed, destruction followed. The 5 emerald rings, were enveloped within the black ripples and shattered into dim motes of fading light. Having missed its first strike, the golden sword wheeled about at once, twisting through the air like a viper recoiling from its prey as it sped back toward Han Li. The wolf responded with a cold, echoing howl. The scattered devilish chi surged once more, condensing into countless black threads that coiled around the retreating sword like living shackles. Han Li's brow lifted slightly. His hands formed another seal without hesitation, commanding the sword to unleash nearly half of its stored divine devil-bane lightning. Thunder exploded across the heavens. A blazing sphere of golden lightning erupted from the colossal blade, releasing a world-shaking detonation. Countless arcs lashed outward in chaotic fury, annihilating the devilish chi wherever they touched and carving a vast opening through the suffocating darkness. Seizing the opportunity, the sword pierced through the gap and reappeared at Han Li's side in an instant. How can such an abundance of divine devil-bane lightning exist within this mortal realm? The enormous wolf turned its gaze upon Han Li, deep searching and unsettling. Though Han Li's expression remained composed, a chill stirred faintly in his heart. No matter how formidable the wolf's black shockwaves appeared, they were sluggish and dissipated entirely once they traveled 100 meters from her body. Even so, a cold dread crept into the hearts of the onlookers. The devil Ancestor was truly insidious. She had shattered the devil restriction bands with ease, feigning helplessness and luring them into mutual slaughter over the divine spirit treasures. Had Han Li not struck decisively and disrupted her scheme, they would have exhausted themselves fighting one another only to be harvested at her leisure. Unease rippled through the gathered cultivators. They exchanged wary glances before scattering apart. The divine spirit treasures were priceless beyond measure. But survival came first. At that moment, a glacial light flashed in the wolf's eyes. She raised a claw and slashed through empty air. 5 translucent claw streaks tore across space before vanishing. A woman's agonized scream shattered the tense silence. Startled, the others turned toward the edge of the devilish chi. Lady Mu had been ripped apart, her body shredded as though made of paper. Her protective treasures and defenses crumbled without the slightest resistance. Distracted by her struggle against her bewitched junior, she had been utterly unprepared. Her nascent soul emerged from the wreckage of her corpse. It hesitated for a fleeting instant, glancing toward the golden textile shuttle, then shot away in desperate flight. It was too late. The surrounding devilish chi surged together, forming a massive black hand that blurred forward and seized her in the blink of an eye. Before she could struggle free, the enormous wolf unleashed a piercing howl. The sound froze the nascent soul's magic power mid-escape. The black hand tightened and dragged her screaming form into the depths of the devilish chi. Stop. Master Sable's face turned ashen. Fury and panic twisted his features as he poured magic power wildly into the heaven-bound sword. He slashed at the air with reckless desperation. In an instant, countless phantoms of the heaven-bound sword filled the sky. Deep yellow sword lights layered upon one another, forming a mountain of blades that surged forward with crushing pressure, determined to tear a path through and save Lady Mu at any cost. The others were taken aback by his reaction, yet none could deny the formidable might of his assault. Long Meng and Corpse Xiong exchanged a glance before launching their own coordinated attack. Taoist Seven Wonders frowned slightly at Master Sable's sudden outburst. Then, recalling certain rumors surrounding the two elders, an odd expression flickered across his face. After a brief pause, he flipped his hand and summoned a half-foot scarlet drum. The drum gleamed as though forged from molten flame, beams of crimson light radiating from its surface like condensed inferno. The moment it appeared, it expanded to a colossal 100 meters in size. A suffocating heat swept across the battlefield as if all present were being cast into a furnace. The scarlet cry drum, Lin Yinping exclaimed. Above her, Grand Immortal Shu, still in the form of a peacock, also stared in astonishment. Han Li swept his spiritual sense across it and felt the overwhelming fire attribute power emanating from within. Its aura rivaled that of his tri-flame fan. Recognition dawned. A replica of a divine spirit treasure. Seven Wonders held the massive drum aloft and turned to Han Li, his expression unreadable. Fellow Taoist, Han, your divine devil-bane lightning is particularly effective against devilish qi. Let us strike together. I will use the drum to conceal your movements. Han Li narrowed his eyes slightly. Before he could reply, Master Sable's attack crashed into the churning sea of devilish qi below. A thunderous roar shook the air. Swordlight and darkness collided in violent opposition. For a time they locked in stalemate. Then Long Meng's massive white hand and Corpse Chiong's bloodblade joined the fray. Yet the gigantic black wolf countered effortlessly, spewing beams of black light from its mouth to block their assault. Abruptly, the wolf raised its head and spat out two pitch-black spheres. The orbs struck the ground. Devilish qi erupted from them, twisting and coalescing into two winged silhouettes. The figures resembled young men with hooked noses, each wielding a massive black saber. Their eagle-like wings spread wide as they launched themselves toward the silver-winged Night Fiend and the Lion Hawk, who had nearly destroyed one of the formation's stone pillars. Before even closing the distance, the pseudo-devils swung their sabers. Sword streaks tore through the air, slashing toward the two demons with lethal intent. The two demons were caught utterly off guard by the sudden emergence of the newly formed devils. The silver-winged Night Fiend did not hesitate. His figure blurred like smoke in a gale and vanished into the currents of wind. The Lion Hawk wheeled around with a menacing cry, golden light erupting from its body. It unleashed a thunderous roar, sending concentric shockwaves of blazing gold crashing toward one of the devils. The devil lifted its massive saber in defense, but the golden sound waves engulfed it whole. Within that radiant storm, its form was shredded apart, collapsing back into drifting wisps of black qi. The second devil had just raised its hand to release a saber streak when the Night Fiend reappeared behind it without a warning. His fingers flicked with icy precision. A barrage of grey ghost fiend threads burst forth, piercing through the devil's body like a rain of spectral needles. Holes riddled its form, and in the next breath it tore apart into mist. The silver-winged Night Fiend stared at the fading remnants of devilish qi, disbelief flickering in his eyes. The victory had come too easily, but only for a moment. The black qi before him began to gather once more, writhing and coalescing as it pulsed with sinister light. In mere seconds, the two devils were reformed. Before they had even fully solidified, one lunged forward with jaws agape and spat a torrent of dense black qi. The Night Fiend frowned faintly and raised a hand, summoning another storm of ghost fiend threads to intercept the assault. The threads and the devilish qi collided mid-air, twisting together in a violent tangle of grey and black. Meanwhile, the second devil abruptly transformed, its body stretching and reshaping into a massive 3-meter hawk wreathed in darkness. With a powerful sweep of its wings, it dove toward the Lion Hawk. Claws clashed, beak snapped. Black and purple feathers spiraled through the air as the two colossal birds tore at one another in a frenzy of shrieks and rending talons. The Lion Hawk clearly held the upper hand. Its strikes were heavier, its aura stronger. Yet the Black Hawk's wounds closed almost as quickly as they were inflicted. A roaming black radiance coursed across its body, mending torn flesh and shattered bone with eerie speed, as though it possessed a semblance of immortality. The Night Fiend found himself facing the same grim reality. No matter how many times his ghost fiend threads shredded the devil's body, it reassembled in the blink of an eye. These incarnations were undoubtedly fragments of xianxia herself. So long as their master endured, and so long as devilish qi remained, they would not truly die. Is the devil Ancestor merely using these incarnations to prevent us from destroying the stone pillar? The Night Fiend pondered grimly. They cannot defeat us, but they do not need to. Though their defenses were frail, the devilish qi they spewed was every bit as vicious as that of the devil Ancestor. The two demons found themselves fully occupied, forced into constant evasion. And in the time the incarnations bought, the heavily damaged stone pillar began to glow. Light shimmered along its fractured surface. Cracks knit together. The structure slowly repaired itself before their very eyes. The Night Fiend's expression darkened with frustration. From afar, Corpse Cheong witnessed the stalemate and felt unease coil in his chest. Long Meng had condensed several enormous white hands from her spiritual sense. They descended relentlessly, hammering apart the surging devilish chi below. While maintaining her assault, she transmitted her voice to Corpse Cheong. Do not be alarmed. Those incarnations are merely fragments of her soul shaped by devilish arts. 2 are the most she can summon, otherwise she would have unleashed them against us. But at this pace, we will undoubtedly lose. Her tone grew heavier. More importantly, my body is slowly being corrupted by devilish chi. For now, the change is reversible. But once she absorbs enough pure devilish chi from the altar, it will become permanent. When that moment arrives, the devil's soul will fully fuse with my body. I will never reclaim it. Once she regains her complete strength, we will be utterly annihilated. A pause. I must take the risk. Corpse Cheong maintained his crimson assault upon the devilish chi as he asked respectfully, "What do you intend to do?" "Madam, I will employ a secret technique to forcibly enter the body and wrest control from within," Long Meng replied coldly, "though I will be at a severe disadvantage against a body already steeped in devil form. I can temporarily immobilize her. That will be your opportunity to finish this." Corpse Cheong hesitated. "I understand. But is that not exceedingly dangerous?" Long Meng gave a sharp snort. "With the altar unsealed, we have no alternative." Corpse Cheong's gaze flickered toward the altar. "What exactly does it seal? Even you seem wary of it. Could it be ancient devilish artifacts?" "If only it were that simple," Long Meng replied darkly. "Even if she gained strength from artifacts, we could retreat and gather allies to suppress her. But beneath that altar lies something far worse." She paused, then spoke with grave weight. "Perfect devil chi, brought here from the elder devil realm." Perfect devil chi." Corpse Cheong's composure shattered. Long Meng nodded solemnly. "You were not yet incarnated as a refined corpse when it plagued this world, but you know its terror. It differs fundamentally from ordinary devilish chi. It does not merely corrupt spirit veins, it alters the very nature of spiritual chi itself. It spreads through the air. Mortals and low-grade cultivators exposed to it gradually transform into devils. Given enough time, the mortal realm would become another elder devil realm." Corpse Cheong's voice dropped. "But I heard that the ancients purified it long ago. Could it still remain within the altar? Perfect devil chi is the condensed essence of the elder devil realm." Long Meng said quietly. "The ancients could cleanse common devilish chi, but how could they erase something capable of reshaping the world's spiritual foundation? Only the spirit realm likely holds such a method." She continued, "Before my sealing, I overheard the 3 Kunwu masters discussing their solution. They sealed most of the perfect devil chi and imprisoned it within regions of the mortal world, abundant in spiritual energy, using the pressure of those sites to suppress it." Corpse Cheong's expression wavered. "Kunwu Mountain, one of the greatest spirit mountains in history. Using its vein to suppress the chi was logical. They must have hoped that constant immersion in pure spiritual energy would slowly erode it." His tone turned grim. "But the mountain's spiritual chi has long diminished. Without 1,000,000 years, the perfect devil chi cannot dissipate. If it is released now, it cannot be sealed again. And once the devil ancestor absorbs it, she will be unstoppable," Long Meng finished. A dark glimmer flickered in Corpse Cheong's eyes. "But if the mortal realm falls, why should we care? In ages past, the spirit realm's humans and demons expelled the elder devils once already. We have done what we could. Perhaps it would be better for us to—" Long Meng's smile was glacial. "You were once brought here as a corpse bear, a human spirit beast. Did you not assist me in the devil-suppressing pagoda in hopes of returning to the spirit realm through a reverse spirit stream?" Her gaze sharpened. "With your cultivation below deity transformation, the spatial forces alone would tear you apart. And how did you conclude that I know the location of such a stream?" Corpse Xiong offered a faint smile. I was only a spirit beast before my consciousness awakened. As for the reverse spirit stream I have prepared for countless years, I possess a method. He inclined his head. As the former consort of great demon King Tian Kui, who else would know such secrets if not you? Long Meng snorted. Your faith is misplaced. I can only locate a reverse spirit stream once I fully reclaim my original body. Do not entertain thoughts of abandoning this battle. Corpse Chong grinned. So long as I fulfill your wishes, you will guide us back to the spirit realm. We shall serve loyally. That will suffice. Guard me, Long Ming said with cool satisfaction. Moments later she formed an incantation seal. Silver radiance erupted from her body, blazing brilliantly. At the same time, Han Li responded to Seven Wonders' request. He extended his hand and unleashed several bolts of divine devil-bane lightning into the sea of devilish chi below. Thunder cracked as golden lightning scattered the suffocating darkness. The enormous wolf faced the allied cultivators without retreat. From the vast clouds of devilish chi beams of black light erupted ceaselessly, driving back the mountain of yellow sword light and all other assaults. The devilish chi had now engulfed more than half the battlefield, hemming in nearly everyone present. Then, the stone pillars flared to life. Blinding light radiated from their surfaces as a deep, resonant hum filled the air. Ancient talismanic characters emerged one by one, trembling as though awakening from slumber. Both demons and humans stared in awe, but Seven Wonders' face sank. Though he had not overheard Long Meng and Corpse Xiong's exchange, a terrible premonition gripped his heart. Gritting his teeth, he hurled the scarlet cry drum into the air where it hovered ominously. "Fellow Taoist Sable," he shouted sharply. "What are you waiting for? Bring it out now, or calamity will be upon us." After unleashing such a prolonged storm of frenzied attacks, Master Sable finally forced himself to calm down. Trapped within the churning sea of devilish chi for so long, he had already sensed the truth. Lady Mu's nascent soul was gone. At Taoist Seven Wonders' urgent shout, Master Sable's expression hardened. With a sharp flick of his sleeve, he summoned forth an earth-colored block that hovered solemnly above him. The object was carved from jade of uncanny smoothness, its surface flowing with faint layers of silver and golden talismanic characters that shimmered like drifting constellations. A vast yet strangely stable spiritual aura emanated from it, heavy and unyielding as a mountain. The mountain-crushing seal. A woman's voice cried out in astonishment. Han Li followed the sound and saw Lin Yinping staring at the treasure in disbelief. Recognition stirred within him as well. It was a replica of a divine spirit treasure one that had appeared at the underground auction he had attended long ago. Though he had departed before its conclusion, he later learned that the seal had been sold for an astronomical price. To think it had fallen into the hands of the High Zenith sect. Their wealth truly befitted the foremost sect of the righteous Tao. As the mountain-crushing seal began to glow, Taoist Seven Wonders let out a shrill cackle. Raising his hand, he flicked a finger toward the scarlet cry drum suspended in the air. A dull, resonant thump reverberated outward. Crimson light blossomed from the drum's surface, forming a wheel of scarlet haze that encircled it like a rising sun wreathed in blood-red clouds. Seven Wonders flicked again. Another deep thud rolled across the battlefield. The red radiance intensified, swelling with each beat. A slow, deliberate rhythm of drumming filled the air, solemn, methodical, inexorable. The crimson wheel gradually ascended like a newborn sun, and with every passing moment, the pressure it emitted mounted to terrifying heights. Meanwhile, Master Sable had already begun chanting incantations, striking the jade block with streams of spell seals. The mountain-crushing seal swelled rapidly, expanding into a 60-meter-tall mass that loomed like a miniature peak torn from the earth itself. Intricate layers of spell formations and talismanic inscriptions shimmered across its surface. Dazzling yellow mist coiled around it, drawing in the surrounding worldly chi as though the very heavens acknowledged its authority. The appearance of the two treasures instantly seized the attention of everyone present. Long Meng's brow lifted faintly when she sensed their overwhelming pressure. An unreadable expression flickered across her face before she calmly closed her eyes. The colossal wolf's expression shifted from blank indifference to solemn focus. A cold gleam flashed through its massive eyes. "You think two mere replicas can defeat me?" the wolf scoffed. "Dream on." Black radiance gathered within its mouth, condensing into a sphere of utter darkness. The orb drifted forward, pulsing faintly as though breathing. Beams of black light streamed rhythmically into it, vanishing without a trace. The sphere expanded at astonishing speed, swelling to the size of a grand hall in the blink of an eye. It floated upward until it hovered directly above the wolf's head. Its color was not merely black, it was an abyss without end, a void that seemed to devour even thought itself. Those who gazed upon it felt a faint tremor of existential dread, as though staring into the emptiness beyond creation. And still it grew. "Go!" Master Sable barked sharply, his finger stabbing toward the altar. The mountain-crushing seal blazed brilliantly and shot forward like a falling star. The crimson sun, born of the scarlet cry drum, trembled violently before surging after it. The twin lights roared across the battlefield, shredding through the sea of devilish chi as if it were fragile parchment. Though they were replicas, their coordination elevated their power to the equivalent of a genuine divine spirit treasure's strike. Without hesitation, the enormous wolf exhaled a stream of black mist into the abyssal sphere. The orb shuddered, then shot forward to meet the oncoming treasures. As it advanced, it devoured every strand of devilish chi in its path, swelling further with terrifying momentum. The three titanic forces collided mid-air. The impact shook the heavens. Black light, golden mist, and scarlet radiance exploded outward. The resulting spiritual pressure condensed into a visible wall of energy, cleaving the battlefield in two. On one side stretched an endless void, dark and fathomless, like a starless sky. On the other blazed a dazzling expanse of yellow and crimson, sparkling like a newborn galaxy. Thunderous roars echoed from both sides, as though countless divine weapons were clashing in a cataclysmic war. The luminous barrier wavered, tugged first one way, then the other. But the stalemate was short-lived. As the wolf poured a continuous beam of black radiance into the abyssal sphere, the dark wall began to inch forward, steadily pushing back the two replicas. Master Sable and Taoist Seven Wonders' faces changed drastically. They had not expected the devil ancestor to withstand their combined assault through sheer personal power alone. Desperation crept into their movements. They frantically struck their treasures, with spell seals pouring in magic power without restraint. A glance passed between them, grim aghast. The devil restriction bans had failed. Their most formidable treasures could not suppress her, and the altar's seal was nearing its breaking point. As dread began to settle over them, Han Li moved. He slapped his storage pouch, and the tri-flame fan appeared in his grasp. His gaze lingered upon the clashing wall of light and darkness. A quiet sigh escaped him. With a subtle command of thought, his human-like puppet slipped silently behind him, remaining concealed. Then Han Li brought his palms together. The tri-flame fan surged in size, expanding rapidly until it spanned 10 meters across. To confront the devil ancestor head-on was folly. But if Master Sable and Seven Wonders fell, he would be next. Phoenix cries pierced the air. A tri-colored inferno erupted from the fan, roaring skyward in a blaze of gold, silver, and crimson. Han Li did not hold back a single strand of magic power. This was no time for restraint. The activated fan emitted overwhelming spiritual pressure, instantly drawing the attention of the two grand cultivators. Fellow Taoist, that's Master Sable began in shock. Han Li offered no explanation. He swung the fan. A torrent of tri-colored flame surged forth, condensing mid-air into a 15-meter-long avian silhouette. The fiery bird shrieked sharply, spread its blazing wings, and plunged toward the wall of light. Under the astonished gazes of the two elders, the bird exploded into a radiant halo. Waves of golden and silver talismanic characters cascaded outward before the halo vanished in a brilliant flash. The red and yellow radiance surged violently. Gold and silver flames interwove among them, strengthening their brilliance. The tide shifted instantly. The combined assault gained the upper hand, pressing back the black wall with relentless force. The silver-winged Night Fiend and Lin Yin-ping had witnessed Han Li wield the Tri-Flame Fan before. But Corpse Xiong and Long Meng had not. Shock flashed unmistakably across their faces. Master Sable and Seven Wonders were overjoyed. Though they did not know how Han Li had obtained a replica of a divine spirit treasure, its might rivaled their own. Seizing the opportunity, they poured even greater power into their treasures, determined to crush the devil Ancestor's incarnation in one decisive strike. Yet after unleashing such a full-powered blow, Han Li's complexion had turned ghostly pale. Without delay, he retrieved a jade bottle and swallowed a drop of spirit milk. Warm energy surged through his meridians, replenishing his depleted magic power in an instant. But just as relief began to settle, a wretched wolf's howl tore through the battlefield. Han Li's heart lurched. He looked up. A curtain of black light had enveloped both the altar and the wolf, obscuring all within. Blue radiance flickered in Han Li's eyes as he activated his spirit sight, yet even he could not pierce it. Suddenly, something flickered within the darkness. In that very instant, his protective barrier shuddered violently. A streak of frigid light ruptured through it. There was no time to react. Not good. An explosion rang out, followed by several resounding booms. Han Li's body trembled before he was blasted backward, sent hurtling through the air. A surprised exclamation echoed from within the darkness, followed by a cold snort. Something flickered again. Dodge. That's the Heavenwolf drill. Silvermoon cried out in alarm. At that very moment, a silhouette flashed before Han Li. Several dull thuds sounded. The figure staggered back several steps. Piercing through the robes of the human-like puppet, a strangely curved shard had embedded itself deep into its abdomen. If you loved this story, please consider supporting us through the donation below description. Your support allows us to keep bringing you the best and most immersive video. We truly appreciate you being here with us.